the Woodpreneur Podcast, where sawmill owners and lumber entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Every week, real stories from the timber industry, whether you're starting small or running a big operation. Subscribe for real stories and insights from the industry. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Alger, and today I am joined by Ken Breon of Lumber Capital Log Yard in Pennsylvania. Now, they have taken a small, family-run sawmill and turned it into a powerhouse, not just by producing quality hardwoods, smokewood, and shavings, but by building one of the most popular lumber channels on YouTube with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So we're going to dig in today to how they run their mill, balance life as a family business, and use technology and storytelling to connect with customers around the world. Well, hello, Ken. Thank you so much for being on this episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast today.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
That was such a great introduction. That was so kind. Wow.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, we love watching what you guys are doing out there. I want to ask some questions. I know the audience is wanting to know, how did Lumber Capital Log Yard get started? What inspired your entire family to jump into this business?
Well, now, do you mean the YouTube channel or the
Nope.
log?
How did Lumber Capital Log Yard get started? What prompted that?
I was in a totally unrelated business, and I came home one day and I just said, to hell with it. I'm done. I've always been self-employed. I wasn't a bad businessman, and I knew how economic systems worked and things like that. So I knew how to talk to people, and I just went, I took what savings I had, I bought as much equipment as I could, and I started cutting trees. And I literally, I think within 48 hours, I had my first job.
Okay.
And I have worked every day, 6 days a week since then.
Ooh.
And that well over 20 years ago. Yeah, I personally work a 6-day week. The kids don't.
Well, that's good. That's good. So how did you, I know it's a family business. I work in a family business. There's some weird dynamics there, but it's also amazing. What roles do each of your family members play in the business? And how do you make that whole business family balance work for you guys?
First of all, I'd say I think it works a lot better for my wife and the kids than it does for me. My girls run the sawmill, and they're exposed to the weather. I'm a dad. It literally drives me ape shit sometimes. 100-degree day, and I know they're down there in the sun, the asphalt's 115 degrees or something, and I'll be calling my wife, try and find cell service on a mountain somewhere, saying, just get the kids out of there. It's getting too hot. I'm worried about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a lot easier for them. They're a lot tougher than me. And they just do. They developed just a bit of a passion for this industry. I don't know that they're 110% sold on it like I am, but it's what we know. They're very knowledgeable. They have Emerald's 21. I think the business is 21, 22 years old, something like that.
Oh, so she grew up with it. This has been her life.
No. Yeah, that's all they've known. Every triumph and tragedy along the way, they've been able to, identify with. And then when the YouTube channel started, they just had so much knowledge. They literally had a decade of knowledge before they even mentioned anything video. And, then they started operating the equipment, and it was such a natural. They had sat on my lap in the log yard on tractors and loaders, and
so they knew how to operate it before they operated it. Yeah. So you've got your daughters. You've got Samantha and Emerald. Who else from the family works with you?
Well, Terry, my wife, does just about everything. She runs every equipment except the woods equipment.
Mm-hmm.
It's Emerald and Jade. Samantha's no longer working for me. She's a
Okay.
mommy now and married and just I don't want to say choosing a better career path, but one that makes her dad.
One that resonates with her heart. That's good.
Yeah, and with
Good.
me very much so. And then my youngest son, Judah, he's 15. He does a ton of stuff behind the scenes. We do some bundled wood. We do that here at home. We have a big barn, and I'll bring home a cord of firewood, and I'll go out 2 days later, and he'll have it wrapped in bundles
Like
and ready to
cellophane
go.
wraps or
We use a little different system to be a little competitive, but yes, that would be what I'm talking about.
okay. Yeah, so bundled firewood. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We did a whole lot of bundled firewood when I was a kid and whoo, I wanted out of that. So I hated wood at one point in my life. I'm like, I am gone. But here I am. I came back. So very cool. I thought I saw maybe your dad or maybe Terry's.
It
Was there a grandpa in the picture?
There is. It's Terry's dad, and yeah, he's a very interesting part of the operation. Uh, he can just assess anything and repair anything. Most times on the spot with a little bit of duct tape and some other funky stuff he'll use. It's never like a permanent repair, but one thing about our industry is that it is production, and I'm sure you know this from your family background. If that head rig isn't going back and forth, you've got issues.
Right.
It has to move, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what end of the operation you're in, whether you're at the logging end, the trucking end, the milling end, the inventory end, the kiln dry end, or the finishing product. It all has to move, and any broken part really stops it.
Right, right. Now, when we started the conversation, you had mentioned that you were like, "I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start taking down trees." So, does your day but now you're talking about sawmills.
Yes.
Was was that fully integrated from day 1, or were you taking down trees at first and trying to sell them to other mills? How did you decide, and at what stage of your business did you decide, "I need a head rig, I need a sawmill"?
It's so funny doing stuff live. I just have to say.
Oh, you're not live, but, it's
Well,
recorded.
yeah, being you know, an unknown question coming at you. It's just I've heated my house with firewood all my life, and so when I started logging, it was a natural thing to want to have a firewood business. The property that we own, where the sawmill is, was not allowed. You weren't allowed to do firewood there. You had to go through a hearing through the county. I knew it was going to be approved, but to be approved, you had to be a sawmill. So I went out and I bought the smallest sawmill that Wood-Mizer made and never uncrated it. I plopped it in the corner and said, I'm a sawmill.
So 25 years ago, would that have been the LT-15?
It was an LT.
Okay. We have smaller ones now, but I'm going, wait a second, we didn't have those back then.
Yeah, it was a 15, no extra decks or anything. It was just the standard package, and it sat in the corner. But I met the government requirement, and I did firewood. Then market shifted, and I'm becoming a better logger. I'm producing more. In 2008, somewhere in there, when we started to see changes, I looked at logs a lot differently. And we started bringing in all of our low grade material. Now, what you might not know about our part of the country is, although on the channel we do a lot of softwood, I'm really a hardwood logger, and we're in the heart of hardwood country. Is the oak family, maple, cherry, walnut, hickory. That's primarily what I harvest. So we would bring in the junk logs, 9 feet long, and cut them into railroad ties. We would make 4 cuts, turn them,
Mhm.
take the tie off the LT-15, And
Oh, so you uncrated the LT15 at some point.
well, that's how. Yeah. So we started when the market shifted. We started using the LT15 and cutting railroad ties.
Okay.
And still to this day, it is my favorite mill to ever have cut a railroad tie on. And we still, with an LT70, haven't beat my personal 1 hour record.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Nine ties in 1 hour on an LT15 by myself.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
So, and it started, what was so cool was we did 4 cuts. That's all I wanted out of the log. It was very low grade logs, just quality enough
Just
for
ant it out. Yeah.
can it out. The 4 pieces, a handsome, good 4-inch thick piece. We just went straight into firewood. So we didn't have to go into pallet material or anything like that. We just went straight into firewood, and we had the build-in sale already established.
Great.
And if you think about the math of it, see all the trucking, everything's already accomplished in that tie. So bringing that in, so I sit down. I have a calculator and everything. Every machine, every truck, by my bed, on my desk. I'm always calculating how many ties. It was the first time probably the first major calculation I did. How many railroad ties logs at an average diameter can I cut for a cord of firewood? It was 10. So every 10 logs, I had a cord of firewood sitting there. And that was already, again, I'm emphasizing this because trucking is king now, at least in our neck of the woods. To have a cord of firewood sitting there that you already paid for, and now it just needs to be easily picked up. It's not heavy.
Right.
The slab is, but the individual pieces, it's not like it's a 22-inch round or something. So,
Right. Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I started with the sawing. Yeah.
Okay. And now you have a really diverse offering at this point. Lumber, firewood, shavings, merchandise, even coffee. So what a lot of businesses diversify with some of the lower grade products to offset costs and have an additional revenue stream instead of disposal costs. Was that your situation, or was it a solution for waste, or are some of those other products actually viable income streams for your business?
That's a really great question. That's the type of question that for 20 plus years I go to bed thinking about.
Are we really making money on this? That's what we're all thinking about it when we're going to sleep or happen to be on a vacation at some point. Yeah.
It comes down to waste product. And, my goal has constantly been to harvest less trees per time period, but pull more value out of the tree. And, we don't have a chipping operation. We have shavings, and I can get to that. But
Right.
that's the only thing that we're not doing. But all of the math came down to, what can we do with these waste products? Firewood was a waste product. It could be left in the woods, or it could be gleaned behind the skidder and brought to the landing. So that's really what the drive has been, to leave less impact on the land as a whole and to utilize more of what's taken from the land per individual unit, per tree, if you will. And that's been our model. And, as time went by and I was really able to put math behind it, here I'm sitting on a little LT15. I didn't know anything about thin kerf blades or circular blades or anything. And that crazy mill takes a 16th of an inch of a kerf. It's gorgeous. It doesn't waste. And
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
it,
The recovery is fantastic.
absolutely. And that became, another thing. And a lot of the old timers around here, they're running much older equipment. And I realized, again, this is me sitting there with all the calculators in every bedroom and machine I have. We are getting one more board when we started cutting softwood than my competitors per log. Does it sound like much? But
Boy, it adds up.
hey, if it's a $10 piece of hemlock, $10 board, 100 logs, Big Mac.
It adds up for sure.
Yeah, and you've done all the work. That you've logged it, you've trucked it, you've inventoried the log, you've milled it, and there you go. You have 100 extra boards at $10 sitting in front of you because of a thin
Right.
blade.
Right. And that can really make or break you at the end, at the end of the period of,
And
just because you have all the unexpected expenses or breakdowns or, the repairs. And so you need every little bit that you can get. So, so I saw recently on your Instagram page, I saw that you had Nile kiln delivered. The team at Nile I saw was delivering and setting up a kiln for you. Was that your first Nile kiln? What caused you to get that one, and how do you see that changing your business?
well, again, another really great question. We are very impressed with Nile.
Great people, great product. We own them. And not just because I sell them, we own them because we want to. They're great.
Yeah, that's an understatement. They absolutely are fantastic, great people. The knowledge that comes with it, of course, we're running and operating a very small unit, probably their smallest unit. I'm not quite sure, but we really felt that we wanted to get more into the hardwood side of things. And cutting hemlock and pine is just fantastic. It's just you just can it up, and whatever your 10 inches wide, you slice and dice, you're done. But I guess I'm getting things sort of out of the way. 3 years ago, I quit selling logs, so we started bringing in all our hardwood logs. That was I think a very aggressive thing to do. It about sank us. To be honest with you, again, if I wasn't passionate about what I do, we probably wouldn't be here just because of that decision. But now,
Those stretches sometimes, whoo, you believe in it and you're like, but boy, if I can just get over this hill.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a 1,000-day sludge uphill. And,
Yeah.
now we've reached the summit, and we can see ahead that, this decision that I questioned for the last 1,000 days is starting to make sense.
Good.
So,
Good.
and that's where Nile fell in. But
Mhm.
there's also one other critical component. Again, I don't know how these dynamics work across the rest of the country. The Northeast is a little unique. We do have some softwood here. And what I'm going to say is that, like logging practice, I think is very good and healthy, very sustainable in the Northeast. Yes, as I know the other loggers out there, good ones and bad ones,
Mhm.
very little do I see that I would even raise an eyebrow. But one thing, you have to produce, and it's very easy to move to the next tree or leave something behind of less value because the next tree is more valuable. And I started getting calls about 5 years ago. Hey, can you come and look at my timber? Sure, I'd be glad to. 60 acres here, 120 here, and I'd say, what are your dominant species? Now, I already know that. I live in the county. I'm working in the county.
You know what grows there. Yeah.
And many of the conversations would say, oh, I have, these species. And my next question would be, how long ago did you have it logged? 3 years ago.
Ooh.
You want me to come in and take what they didn't want? I would have done it if I was there and harvesting, but now you have trees that have very little value, and they're hard to market. So I'm going back to the Nile kiln.
Right.
Pine in our area is a problem. I just call it the pine problem. For hardwood loggers, it's just hard to get rid of. And what we did was we have the kiln, and we're going into tongue and groove and shiplap.
I saw you were delivered a Mulder Woodmiser Mulder planer. What MP was it in?
I think it's the 260, but it's not
260?
taken that they're the same machine. It's just a different electrical phase.
They're very similar. Yes.
Yeah. So, and again, impressive machine.
I saw One of Marty's boys, I think, delivered it to you out of Pennsylvania. Great family.
Wow. Yeah. Um, we we probably wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for Marty. And it just I want to say this because I think it's worth saying. There's enough shit said about people just whatever. It seems like stuff is so negative. So I just want to say this about this man, his family, and his operation. We wouldn't have made it through COVID. We were okay with business, but we couldn't get freaking parts. We were going to machinists and fabricating our own parts faster than we could get parts. And
Yeah.
we talked about how it has to be production. You have to move.
Right.
And Marty
And the lumber boom during COVID, and you're trying to
was
keep up to survive. Yeah.
huge. Marty, he would find some part somewhere in some box and overnight that to us. And Grandpa
Or call one of us and say, hey, do you have this part for them? And we're scrounging in our back 40, you know?
well, it very well may have been, and I wouldn't have known that part of the story. So, it was coming from Marty, and, Grandpa then would be on the phone with them and, right at the mill. And Marty's explaining, this, that, the other stuff, a
You
computer.
modify it slightly, you can put it on there and it'll still work even though it was made for an LT40. And
Yeah.
that's Marty.
Yeah.
That's
And
Marty. Yeah.
I'm telling you, if there is such a thing as salvation, he kept us moving at the lumber end. And I will never forget that. And I will probably always be a wood miser person. Not that wood miser isn't great, but it's because of Shade Gap wood miser. And that's just the truth. It's how those years played out. And it wasn't once, Jennifer. It wasn't twice. It was probably a dozen times over that period. And, he just freaking kept us going. It was awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm sure he'll appreciate the thanks, and you're right. So often people take the time to say the negative, but they never pause to thank those that help them along. And so that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That'll mean a lot to Marty and Lisa.
Yeah. It was huge. It really kept it moving.
That's great. That's great. So for other sawyers listening, this is a Sawmill podcast and woodworking, the Woodpreneur Podcast. For others listening, what's the one piece of equipment or process upgrade that's really just made the biggest difference in your entire operation? And I know you're so diversified, that might be tough, but help some people out here.
Well, let's take the woods out of it. And I just, I want to say on your format here that is where I am. The girls have matured enough and they run everything. They're owners now in the business and stuff. So let's just stick to the log yard. And what I'm going to say from a father perspective. We've had two LT things. We had a 35, we had a 40, and now we're at a 70. And I told my wife, I said, we're not getting a 70 unless I have a live deck. And I would say it's the live deck that has really, really changed that. Yeah. And the reason I say that is a log truck would come in, would load our deck that we're camp rolling the logs up to the carriage on the
right, loading them up.
Yeah. And if you were 3 logs high and one of those logs moved after a rainstorm in the spring, if you cut poplar or something and the bark peeled, slippery, slimy wood as far as the being barkless, it'd crush it. And I'm in the woods worried about the girls standing in front of a freaking 500-pound log and rolling them in. They never complained. I showed them what to do, how to stand on the side. But that live deck, like taking, like with the YouTube channel, people are all the time, oh, this is so dangerous. That's so dangerous. They never once mentioned camp rolling the logs. 20 of them, stacked up there that they saw in the videos all the time. Ever thinking, oh, that's dangerous. That was dangerous. It was really dangerous. And I wanted rid of it. And then the live deck, as soon as you have one, you're never going back.
Yeah.
So, I think
Yeah,
we
they
think
are
that
they are pretty
logs
amazing.
are, yeah, and
Great,
it's just very beautiful and stuff. So it
great.
makes it much
So
easier.
you're getting the efficiency and the peace of mind as dad to walk away knowing that your girls aren't getting rolled over by a log.
Yeah,
That's priceless right there.
yeah. It was very much a safety concern to me, and that
Yeah,
that alleviated it, and then the efficiency of it. I just want to say the efficiency I emphasize on
right.
that is 10 to 1.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. So, where do you see Lumber Capital Log Yard 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And what steps are you going to take to get it there?
Well, we're we're getting into an interesting numbers situation. So I'm going to speak about real numbers because I think that's what people really want to know. We're steep here. It can be very steep. And so at the end of the day, and I'm using Scribner scale sticks here, I want to harvest 7,000 feet of logs a week. So about 335,000 feet a year, 300 to 350, put it that way.
Okay.
Now, we do have a YouTube channel. It takes time.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, really, or at the end of the year, that's the number that also matches what the mill can produce with my girls, and also having firewood and one of the girls leaving early to do deliveries, and then doing videos as well. So we're really never going to be over 300 to 350,000 feet a year. So I know that in the woods, and I know that at the mill. So where are we going? That was the question.
Yep. Where are you going? 5 years. What does it look like?
We're optimizing the lumber, and we're adding value back in. So we're looking at, like, how can we pull off a quarter saw and board? I don't necessarily want a quarter saw, slows you the hell down, but
Wait.
waste, phenomenal. But if you can peel that board and get a rift and quartered board, maybe it's only a log or two, but if we're able to go into a $40 or $50 5/4 white oak, 8 by 10 feet long,
Mhm.
it adds that value back in. And that's where I see the growth, not in volume, but in quality of material coming off.
Value added. Yeah. Yeah,
Value
your
add.
value added products. I've been noticing your Instagram page. You notice I spend a lot of time on Instagram. Your Instagram page,
Never been on Instagram.
the girls, your flip phone probably doesn't get Instagram. I don't know.
I never have been. Never see my
But I've been noticing the girls talking about your T&G wall cladding that you guys are putting out, some different
Yes,
products. And so is that one of the value added products that you're referring to that's
of
for your
course.
scale? Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
And I
Great.
I have, again, I'm going to speak of a number, and I realize it will go, it may be different in different parts of the country, and certainly our operation is different. But as we're milling, my number, and I want to retail everything. I'm not, we do some railroad ties and stuff, but that's by default. I want to be at $1.38 a board foot and minimum. And if I can maintain that I can pay the bills, I can have enough to get ahead, and be okay. So everything falls into that. So if we're able to go into tongue and groove product by running it through the Nile kiln and then the finishing equipment, we're going to be at $1.60 a linear foot on an 8-inch wide piece. So we're at about 210 a board foot.
Board
I
foot.
forget math. I don't have it quite in front of me. But so then we just broached that $1.38. Now we're at 210, and that's how, when you start doing that in multiples of 100, or excuse me,
Mhm.
350,000 feet a year,
Right.
you can see how that's where I see our
Starts to
growth.
compound. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, no
Okay.
more quantity, just better quality material.
Higher value added products. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great strategy. And then you're not working your team to death to do it.
Right. And that, like I feel like that maxes me out. That's where I can
Right.
produce this. They can produce it. We can still do firewood. We can still do deliveries. And
Right.
on rain days, we can be, pulling lumber out of the kiln and then running it through the MP. I think it's 260 that we have.
Right. The molder planer. We know it's a molder planer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So your YouTube channel, you built this incredible following. You were telling me earlier, and tell us a story about how that got started, because I think people will be shocked. It's not what we all assumed on how that got started, and what you think really. Once you answer that, what do you think really resonates? Why has it grown so well, and why is it resonating with the viewers? With your why are they resonating with your content?
Okay. Again, yeah, really, really great and fun question. I like to tell the story. Like family dinners have always been a major priority. Sitting down, I'd like to say 7 days a week. That's not quite practical. And now the kids are older, so it doesn't happen. We have a Friday night meal. But that was my instruction time. I've always worked 60 hours, 70 hours a week. You get into firewood season, easy 70, 75 hours, deliveries up to well past dark, lights on the trailers, all that. So one of our family discussions is you're just not allowed to say can't. I hate that. It just stops. It ends the project right there. And one morning, my oldest daughter came downstairs and I said, "You're starting a YouTube channel today." And she said, "I can't." Just said, "Hey, oh, here's a cup of coffee." Emerald walked down. Emerald's 13 or 14. And I said, "You're starting a YouTube channel today." And she said, "I don't know how to do that, Dad." And I picked up my flip phone and I said, "Well, I sure as hell don't." And
I know it's good, so do it.
yeah, so either that night or the next night, Emerald had a video posted. And
Right?
we didn't know what we were doing. They're stupid, but we didn't know about content or anything like that. But we caught it. We were already established before COVID, and again, there was that weird, people are at home, they're on YouTube. I think that COVID to the lumber industry and to me was probably the biggest blessing I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't mean that to be disparaging. I know it was.
I hear you. I hear you. It's like a sad silver lining. It's so sad for so many horrible things, but I'm an optimist. And so where's the silver lining? Our industry, it was amazing.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's how.
And not to take away from those that lost.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, we started the channel and I thought it was like Craigslist or Facebook. I just wanted to sell lumber. That's all I wanted to do. So here we get like 8,000, 10,000 subscribers and I'm disappointed. I'm reading all the comments every night and this guy from New Zealand's talking and this guy from California and this guy, tons of people from Europe and I'm like, how the heck am I going to sell them a 1 by 10 by 10 piece of hemlock? Because it's impossible. You aren't sending low grade softwood to New Zealand. But I couldn't get it in the country, but I just had no idea. But then it became what I had hoped it would be, and people were able to see our products. But this is the mastery of our channel. Emerald and Jade had sat at that table for a decade before they ever operated a machine at the log yard. And they knew more about lumber by default, more about trucking, more about logging, more about skidders, not skid steers, skidders.
Yeah.
They start
setting chokers. Yes.
Yeah, they start, they are active in this channel and they know what the hell they're talking about. And here they are, they're 15, 16 years old, young ladies, gorgeous, and they know more than the guys. And
Yeah.
pretty hard to argue with, especially if you know my two daughters. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you could.
Yeah, maybe someday I will.
so they, that I think that their incredible baseline knowledge of the industry really is what made the channel interesting. I don't do them too much anymore, but I would do some technical videos. I did one. It had a lot of views on how to sharpen a chainsaw, and
Hmm.
I'd done some other ones along the way. During COVID, I did some pep talk stuff. We were just so many
Yeah.
people were sort of down and depressed, and I just
Yeah.
tried to be a little
Motivational.
upbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I might not have felt that way myself, but you know, I I had a voice, and it was worth.
Great.
If somebody could smile at the end of the 8-minute segment, fantastic. And
Great.
my stuff.
Great.
But that's what I think made the channel successful. It was really the girls, and it was
Yeah.
odd. It was peculiar. Here you have
Right.
mid-teenagers don't even have driver's license, and they're running the sawmill and producing.
And producing and know what
Yeah.
they're talking about. And that is so shocking just to see a woman in the industry in general, but to see such young women, capable women accomplishing and doing it. I think that was a big piece of it is going, oh, wait, they know what they're doing. And so it was different from what everybody else was producing. So I think that was huge. Yeah.
It was.
How
Yeah.
the feedback, because I'm sure when you were sharpening that chainsaw, everybody told you all the things that you were doing wrong, and or do you get that? Do you find that there's just a lot of know-it-alls out there, and you're like, what planet are you from? This is what I do for a living. But some of what people put out there in the comments, some of it's good, a lot of it's not, but some of it's good. Has any of it ever influenced the way that you run your operations or expand your offerings? Any of that feedback?
Again, I'll tell the truth. I'm going to say, unfortunately, no. I'm not a sports guy. If I try to throw a ball straight, you better not even be in front of me, because I'm probably going to hit you by. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know sports. I know hockey's a hockey puck or something.
Mhm.
I know logging, and that's where my heart, my passion is. And I told you, I sit with a calculator. Everything has to make sense. Um, again, I was going to sports stuff. I forgot why I was going there, but I guess I call them armchair quarterbacks. I don't watch football, but I understand. The coach
Right.
sitting there in the living room, screaming at the TV, and
Yeah. Why don't you
that's
do it this way?
yeah, and it just in the real world, that's not how it works. I have to,
Right.
I have to make enough to eat here, and I don't have time for fooling around or just doing this. Everything has to flow and has to work and has to move, and it has to all every day do that. And so a lot of the comments, if you had an LT, you're at home and it's a hobby, or you're thinking about transitioning, yeah, it might make a lot more sense. But
Mhm.
we are never that. We're not YouTubers. We're a lumber mill, and we have to produce. We have to be at 300,000
Yeah.
feet. And I know Wood Miser, the numbers, they say you can do a lot higher on the mill that we have. But at the end of the day, again, that's where we fall with that.
Doing it, milling it versus selling it, so you've got to have all the pieces. So you're doing a lot more than just milling. Your small team is also
Yeah.
drying it and running it through the molder planer, and you're logging it yourself. So it's a lot. Yeah. The 350,000 that you're talking about is a lot more when you bring all those pieces into it. Yeah, the mill will do more. But now who's gonna sell it? Who's gonna dry it? Who's
Right.
gonna stick who's gonna do all of those things? So
And one of the things that I don't know, if it shows up on the channel or not, but it even, like customers coming into the log yard,
Mhm.
that's just the mill down. The girls are the attendants there. So,
Yeah.
if they have to take a lumber order, all of a sudden you're showing,
The mill
how do you
shut
not want
down,
a
yeah.
lumber order, And,
Right. No, you stop the mill and you take the money. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. And we came up with a very unique system. I've done it for 20 years. Our entire log yard is self-serve. So you can come in anytime, day or night, and we have the prices posted, the tax amounts,
Mhm.
and you put the money in the drop box and you take the lumber, you take the firewood,
Great.
and our repeat customers, which has become an incredible blessing, a lot of times the mill doesn't need to stop. They come in, they get the lumber,
Great. They know what to get. Perfect.
they go over, they fill out the form, put the money in the slot, and Emerald and Jade, just keep waiting.
Wave them on.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah.
So, for aspiring entrepreneurs, what is the one piece of advice that you wish you had heard before you got started? And that'll be our last question.
It's our last question. I'm not going to be able to frame it that way, Jennifer, but I want to be direct with the answer.
Mhm.
I don't care if you want to be in the wood industry, the metal industry, the shipping industry, the trucking industry, logging industry. Whatever you do it with passion. And you put every ounce of your energy, your thought energy, your spiritual energy, your physical energy into it. When you're logging, it's the last hour of the day. That's when you produce. Paid bills up to then. Now you're kicking ass. And that's, you stop, go home, go to the bar, you're done. You don't you have to have that passion. And if there's anything I could do for anybody, it would be to find that place in their heart and inject passion into them, because we would be a great country, we'd be a great world.
Sure.
It just
Happier. Everybody be happier.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
That's
like
great.
working on a rain day sucks, but you're passionate about it. You just take an extra pair of boots and pants and sit in your truck and change and go back at it, and yeah. So I'd say
Great.
if anything, be passionate. Just
Yeah.
find it in your heart and harvest it and bring every ounce
No
out
pun
of it.
intended. Yeah.
Pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Thank you for that. So, Ken, how would people get in contact with you?
Okay, I have to look at my notes here that
All right. No worries.
this conversation before. So our website is lumbercapital.com, and all of the social media is Lumber Capital Log Yard at YouTube, at Instagram. I think that covers it, right? That's Instagram, YouTube,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And if you can go to your website, they can contact you through that, or you can give an email as well, whatever you prefer. So
yeah. And I don't know my own email address. I know one of them.
they'll go to your website. They'll find you. You're everywhere. You got hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube. They'll find you through that. Well, thank you so much, Ken. It's been insightful. Great getting to know your family. Another family in the wood business that's fully integrated. I work with my dad too, and I'm listening to your stories, going, "Oh my gosh, that was my childhood." So it's great. I loved getting to know you. Totally support what you guys are doing out there. For everyone listening, if you are not subscribed yet, subscribe to the Woodpreneur Podcast. Like us, comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much, Ken.